Well, hello there, and welcome to week 2 of the Sticky Changes Challenge. I hope week 1's gone well so far for you. I've had a very interesting week 1 trying to make the cues for my new habit of journaling every night obvious, placing the journal in an obvious place, doing, habit stacking. Place after I change for bed, I'm going to put my journal by my bed, and it's been interesting and actually quite good. Let's jump into week 2. So week two's principle is make it attractive. So make it attractive. That's our principle or law of behavior change for this week. And just revisiting that habit loop again, that's sort of the basis of James Clear's laws of behavior change. The first principle of make it obvious was about the cue. This one, make it attractive, is about the craving. So it's about making you want to crave to do this habit. So that's what we're doing, making the habits attractive. I won't go over the whole habit loop again because we went over it in the first 2 videos. If you've missed it, then please do double back and have a watch through those ones, because it explains it, and of course the book explains it in very much more detail. So a few tips. Habits are a dopamine driven feedback loop. Our motivation tends to follow our dopamine. So the higher the anticipation of the reward, the higher the dopamine spikes. So it's about really making you want to do something. The reason you want to do it, the craving, is because you want that dopamine hit. Yeah, you want the dopamine hit of the reward. And that drives that feedback loop that you see on the habit loop diagram that we just saw. It's that anticipation of the reward and anticipation of what's coming, and that makes you want to do it again. And the thing about it is timing is everything. I know this for sure. It's best you pick when you have the most energy to do whatever the habit is, and you'll find it more attractive. I honestly, all the years I've tried, there is nothing so far that has made me ever want to exercise after work in the evening. I just do not have the mental or physical energy at that point. And anytime I've tried to say, I hadn't made it this morning, I'll do it in the evening, never happens. So for me, I know if I want to build a habit of regular exercise, it has to be in the morning, because that's when I've got the most energy. So that's just one example. Some tips for this week. Temptation bundling, which is pairing an action you want to do with an action you need to do. It sounds a bit like habit stacking, and you can actually combine the two. But temptation bundling is about sort of pairing something you like doing. For instance, if an example from the book is somebody who wanted to exercise more and also loved watching Netflix, box sets, having Netflix binges. So the action he wanted to do was not necessarily a habit, just what he wanted to do was watch Netflix. But what he needed to do was exercise more. So what he did was that he, in quite a very interesting way, connected his exercise bike to his computer so that he could watch Netflix while he was exercising. And if he stopped exercising, this was quite an ingenious way. If he stopped or was exercising or cycling below a certain speed, the Netflix wouldn't work. Which I think was quite a motivation for him and did work for him. So for you just thinking about, well, this is an action, something I want to do, not just a habit I already have, like brushing my teeth, something that I really like doing. Pair it with something you need to do. And if you combine it with habit stacking, you can say, after this current habit that I'm currently doing, I will do this habit that I need to do. And after I do the habit that I need, then I will do the habit that I want. So it's almost a bit like rewarding yourself with the thing that you want. So that's one, temptation bundling. I love this phrase. I hanging out with eagles. Join a culture where your desired behavior is the normal behavior, because that creates a shared identity. And I think it was after I read Atomic Habits the first time that I realized that actually I needed to make some changes. And for me, this was with regards to exercise. If you follow me on social media, you see that I've had this dream of I want to do a triathlon. I don't know where it came from, given I've just never really been involved in any competitive sports or any sort of endurance sport, but I just had that it would be interesting, it would be fun to try it. But everyone I said it to thought, are you crazy? Because I pretended to hang out with people who are just like me, and they're like, why would you want to run, swim and cycle? Well, I just decided in January of this year I was going to join the triathlon club, our local triathlon club, where actually, compared to me, those people who are really into triathlons are on a whole different level of quote and unquote crazy. And it just makes me feel, when I'm there talking to people who are swimming and doing all the things that I'm trying to do, I'm like, oh, okay, these people are thinking like me. So joining a culture where your desired behavior is normal. And this is a quote from the book. It says, a person's chance of becoming obese increased by 57% if he or she has a friend who becomes obese. And the reverse is true as well. So this came from a study actually of 12,000 people that were studied for over 30 years. So it just shows that actually the company we keep makes a difference to our success or failure in establishing habits. And then a motivation ritual. So essentially, this is about reprogramming your brain to enjoy hard things and learning to associate hard things with a positive experience. So reframing, I get to instead of I have to. I get to go to work instead of I have to go to work. I get to cycle for 20 miles instead of I have to cycle for 20 miles. And sometimes if you, and then this is not too dissimilar from the temptation bundling, although temptation bundling was putting what you want to do after what you needed to do. But doing something you enjoy immediately before a difficult habit sometimes gives you the motivation to go ahead with the difficult habits. So these are some tips you can use, not this week, in thinking about how you're going to make your new habits that you're trying to establish, how you're going to make it attractive. So what are you going to pick this week? How are you going to make the habit you've chosen attractive? How are you going to use temptation bundling or the motivation ritual, or maybe even changing your, joining a group or a club or getting some friends around you who are doing the same thing? Head over to the Facebook group. Let us know what you've chosen to do. Okay, I'm going to be sending you in the email as well a temptation bundling template for you to think about, well, how could I combine something I want to do with this thing I will need to do that I'm planning and really working hard on. Okay, so I'll send that along in the email as well. And I'd love to hear how you're getting on in the Facebook group. So please do pop along to the group and let us know how things are going. All right then, until next week, take care.